I'm Konrad Ejbich, and this is Pro and Con. My guest today is the legendary Harry McWatters, founder of Sumac Ridge Estate Winery, the first estate winery in British Columbia in 1979, first chair of the British Columbia Vintners Quality Alliance, the group that began to set rules for the industry and create and maintain quality. Order of British Columbia, oh my God, you know, the list is so long, I'm not going to have time to talk to you.
Well, that's what happens when you start getting old.
What's it like being called legendary? What's it feel like?
I had to chuckle with that I get lots of titles, and I guess that's just what happened when you spend this many years in the industry.
You're just older than everybody else.
That's where people say things, but that's because I've outlived them all.
Yeah. No. And so it's a long time ago. 1979. It's a long time ago. When you
I actually started in the business in '68 with Casabella Wines in Penticton.
Oh, okay, tell me, because I was going to say, my question was going to be, tell me about where you started thinking about a winery, because in '79 you bought the golf course, but when did you start in wine?
Well, first of all, I made my own wine when I was 16. I grew up in a home where wine was part of our meal. I was born in Toronto. Most people in the West don't realize that. I was 10 years old when I left, but we lived in a predominantly Italian neighborhood in Toronto.
Because it doesn't sound like a very Scottish tradition.
No, no, it's not. Anyway, so we drank, I got little glasses of wine 2 or 3 times a week. And so I enjoyed wine, not necessarily always great wines, but enjoyed the idea of drinking wine with food. And so I started making wine in my teens. By the time I was about 18 or 19, I was drinking wines that were okay. I could get them down, and other people started to think they were not bad too. So I was approached in 1968 by Evans Lougheed, who hired me into the wine business. I had just started Casabella Wines in Penticton and knew that I had an interest in wine, and that I was sales manager for United Van Lines, and I got an opportunity to combine my career and my hobby, my interest together, and the rest, they say, is kind of history.
Yeah.
So I moved to the Okanagan. I didn't move to the Okanagan then, I was in Vancouver. I moved 10 years later in 1978 as director of marketing for Casabella Wines, and that at that point we...
Is that where you met Lloyd Schmidt?
Oh,
is
yeah,
that
Lloyd,
you'd already known him?
Before that, Lloyd and I worked together at Casabella. That he was a viticulturist. He
Right.
actually worked in sales with us for a while, and that he was our viticulturist. We both actually moved to Summerland the same year, and it was at that point, and over several bottles of wine, we decided to buy the Sumac Ridge golf course.
Did you even play golf?
A little bit before
Yeah.
that, but I haven't played since the day I sold the course, and I promised myself I would never do that silly game again.
No kidding.
I have no problem with other people playing it, but for me, it was a waste of time. I was never any good at it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one excuse. No, but you're good at other things. You're an entrepreneur. You're a free thinker. You're a real get things done kind of guy, and I'm told quite a badass joker. Tell me, were you happier when you were running your own show, Sumac Ridge, and later on See You Later Ranch, etc., or as a corporate guy with the power of big business behind you to be able to get real big things done?
Well, that's a tough question, Konrad. I really enjoyed both parts of my career. That we had grown the whole Sumac Ridge Estate Wine Group pretty substantially, and becoming part of Vincor was really a bit of an evolution. It was different, but it was actually had some really enjoyable times, and it brought a discipline and some systems to our business that we didn't have as a much smaller entity. Mm-hmm. It actually got us pretty organized.
Oh yeah. No, I can imagine. Organized. So you were organized. Now I look at. They're still organized. Sumac is still organized. Jackson Street is still organized. But the BC industry is in such turmoil. I can't get over. I mean, these days between private wine cellars and grocery stores and wider availability of beer. Now you've been at different levels. You've been in the levels of power. You've been a grower with your hands in the ground. What are they saying in Premier Clark's cabinet? What are they saying in the corporate boardrooms? And where is the consumer in all this?
Well, first of all, I'm hoping that people in our industry and government haven't lost sight of what consumers really want. They went through the liquor review, which has had a major impact on the potential changes for wine and the sale of wine. And I get that people have said we want to have wine in grocery stores, but I think a lot of people that have said that may have had the opinion that it'll be like we see in the States, where there'll be huge discounting at the end of the aisle, or there might be, really deep discount. That's not going to be the case.
Forced onto the wineries, not because they're being nice guys, but because they've squeezed the industry.
Could have been, yeah. What we're going to see is really an expansion of the VQA store model that we already have. And it may not all look exactly like that, but we're already seeing that we now have 4 grocery stores open with VQA sections. They're in aisle, and I think they're really good. They're good for the consumer. That we always have to be mindful that sometimes when somebody gains, somebody may lose.
Well, I was going to ask, is this really for the benefit of the consumer, or is it really more of an opportunity for a cash grab for the governments and the industry?
No, it's actually an opportunity to expand the horizons, I believe, for both the consumer availability, but also as a winery. That if we go into a major supermarket with the same kind of rules that we are in a small wine shop, that we're going to be introducing our product to a lot more people every week.
Right.
And buying it at a time when they're buying their grocery and thinking about what they're making for dinner.
I don't dispute that. And what about the private wine seller a block and a half away who's suddenly going to lose a lot of business?
Well,
or is he?
I think there's a lot of speculation that could happen, but we haven't seen that so far. Now, it hasn't been very long, there haven't been very many, but I do know one example where there's a grocery store open, there's a private liquor store literally in the corner of their parking lot, and that store tells me that their sales are not down at all, and their VQA sales have held steady, and they've shown actually some growth. So it's a different consumer going into the grocery store versus that channel.
I think I see it as a great opportunity for those private retailers to upscale.
Right. Not only that, but
the groceries won't.
I watched the clerk at the grocery store. A customer came in and asked for a product that was very clearly, obviously, a foreign wine that they didn't have obviously in the store. They were VQA wines only, and so they directed them to that store and said, I can't tell you whether they have it, but if it's an imported wine, then there's a good chance they would, and they sent them over there. So I think that kind of cooperative spirit, that maybe that retailer will also send people into the grocery store for a British Columbia wine that he may not have on his shelves.
Right. So it's basically it's a slow maturing of the industry, and this is the teenage years that are very classically loaded with turmoil.
Yeah, and I can't suggest for a minute that I don't think that there's a risk. Whenever there's change, there's risk. But I think we need to embrace the change. It's the one thing that's going to be constant, and I think consumers are telling us they kind of like it.
Yeah.
Those licenses that have been moved there is because private VQA store operators made a decision to sell their business to the grocery store. So nobody held a gun to their head, and hopefully they made a profit in doing so. As the provider of the wine, I'm pretty confident that we're going to maintain a very good channel in that area.
Mm-hmm. God, I hope so. Especially after this last absolutely amazing. I hear that there's an amazing vintage in BC. I hear that the grass is a gas.
I just completed my 48th vintage in the business.
I'm talking about a different vintage.
I understand.
I'm thinking like, what are you going to do when weed comes to town?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but an interesting thing is that where is it going to be sold? There's some speculation that it'll actually be sold through government liquor stores, or maybe all liquor stores, given that it's a controlled substance. I can't imagine there won't be some tax on it. And so I'm not sure they're going to be able to control who grows it, because that with wine it's controlled, but it's because we take the grapes that we grow and we process them. So that doesn't become a controlled substance, so to speak, until after we process it.
When VQA rules, when NAFTA, the FTA came in '88, Okay, a lot of growers, a lot of wineries were saying, oh my God, what's gonna happen, FTA, competition, et cetera, et cetera. But then there were people like yourself, Zeraldo, et cetera, who said, no, this is a great opportunity. Let's go for it. So now, when Justin Trudeau brings weed, legitimizes or legalizes weed in the next few years, do you as an industry embrace that and say, what's the best wine to go with this bud? Or do you say, hey, don't smoke that shit, drink this stuff?
I don't know. So I'm a neophyte and really pretty ignorant to the use of marijuana. So I have way more fun with wine than I could possibly have with any.
You're not looking forward to the pairings, eh?
I'm not looking forward to the pairings, no. But I traveled on a plane yesterday with a guy, and we had that kind of discussion. And that he smiled. He said, I smoke a little bit. And he said, I actually think that drinking wine by smoke a joint is probably a good thing. So maybe there's an opportunity there. We haven't really thought, we don't know what the rules are. So I have a saying, give me the rules by sundown and we'll show you how to live with them by sunrise.
Okay.
I don't know that whether it'll have a negative or positive effect, but the reality is that our wine industry is resilient and we will respond to whatever it does, and that I don't think we can take changes that are happening elsewhere and ignore them. But I don't think that we should lie awake at night and worry about them, that we should focus on introducing as many people as we can to what we put in that glass and make sure that they're enjoying that in the atmosphere that it was intended.
Yeah, now exactly what's in this glass. This is so good. I love that. I mean, I know it's meritage. I know
It
it's
is meritage,
and
yes.
that means that there are rules that has to be limited to certain varieties.
Yes, exactly. It's very near and dear to my heart. Everything we make, by the way, we grow in our vineyard. This is our 2012 heritage.
Before you tell me about this, introduce me to your new project, because in 2000 you sold your companies to Vincor, and then you worked with them for almost 10 years, till 09, and then you said goodbye, Charlie, when Constellation came along. And so tell me, tell everyone what you've been doing for these past few years and how this fits in.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we sold the wineries, we always kept a substantial interest in the vineyard. So we ended up at the end of the day with 60 acres of vineyard on the Black Sage Bench. It's called Sundial Vineyard now. And knowing that I would be departing, I signed a 5-year management contract. I stayed for well beyond that. And in 2007, I made my first meritage under the McWatters label. We then looked at the opportunity to build a winery there and approach things a little differently with the fruit that we were growing. And we established the name Time Estate Winery, that we produced in a very small quantity wines on the property when we got our license, and we're in the process now of building a significant winery. It's 25,000 square feet, and it'll be the home for Time Estate Winery. We'll still produce McWatters collection there, but we'll also do custom work for other wineries.
But custom crush pad.
It is, but it's not just a custom crush pad. We'll do other specialized work. The dealcoholization for people if they wish with our reverse osmosis system. That we have a very sophisticated filtering system going in, so if people want some small batch things, membrane filtered, cartridge filtered, we have the ability to do that for them.
I bet if you could come up with a de-alcoholized wine that tasted like wine, like at least had some of that freshness and fruit, you'd have a big problem. Because what's out there, it just sucks.
I think there's an opportunity for that. That's not our prime purpose of it.
No, I understand.
For us to get full flavor development in the vineyard, sometimes our sugar levels get a little higher than we want for the alcohol balance. So I'd sooner go for full flavor and then be able to fine tune by reduction the alcohol so that the wine remains refreshing and not hot. And I think that's where our real benefit will be is that we can fine tune that ripe flavor by reducing alcohol and making it just more approachable for consumers.
There are so many times that I would love to have a glass of wine. But it's my third, you know. Right?
Well,
So,
it depends on the size of the glass.
Right. So this is fascinating. It's 2012 Meritage. That's the Meritage Red, and you've also got a Meritage White, which limits it to 2 grapes or 3.
No, on the rules for Meritage, you must use the original Bordeaux varieties.
Right.
So on white there are 3.
Right.
Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, and Sauvignon Vert.
So Muscadel, right, basically.
And I don't think that's growing anywhere in Canada. It's not in British Columbia. So this, our white one is, generally it's about 2/3 Sauvignon Blanc,
Right.
1/3 Semillon. With our Time Red Meritage, there are first of all 8 varieties can be used.
Right.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, which is what we have in our blend. The other 2 that are most commonly known after that are Petit Verdot and Malbec. We produced our first Carmenere, which is a 6 variety.
Okay.
And that is our 14 vintage in the red wine.
Growing in your own vineyard?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
There's only a few of us growing very small
Right,
quantities.
there's only one guy growing, two people growing it here.
Oh, I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
that'd be interesting. So I know that there are 2 others in the Okanagan. So then the other 2 varieties that I haven't actually been able to find are Gros Verdot and Saint Marcaire.
Right.
And they're
And
pretty
ancient
obscure.
varieties.
Exactly,
Ancient
but
varieties.
they would be allowed. Anyways, for the Meritage Association, you must blend. You use that old world tradition of blending where no single variety can exceed 90% of the blend. And it should be a premium product.
Right.
And it really is an opportunity for us to take that old world tradition of Bordeaux without calling it Bordeaux. And
Yeah, because
confusing
we're not
consumers.
Bordeaux.
Exactly, we're not. So I brought the term to Canada more than 20 years ago. It's very dear to my heart, and it is pronounced Meritage. It sounds
Yeah.
like heritage.
Yeah, because it merits age.
You got it. It's
It
exactly
merits
what it's
age.
all about.
Yeah.
And it gives the winemakers an opportunity to show off what they've done in that vintage or their philosophy or more corporate philosophy of the brand or the winery. And so Meritage can have wide variation in style,
Of course.
but they're still within that term of using varieties that originated in Bordeaux by blending them so the end result is greater than the sum of the parts, or certainly that's the goal.
That's
our
all.
goal.
That's always the hope, of course, of
Yeah.
course. So, available across Canada?
Not yet. We are available coast to coast because I sell in Newfoundland. So we're in Newfoundland. We have a couple retailers in Winnipeg and in Saskatoon. We're just going into Alberta early in the new year. We sell a little bit in the Yukon, but our market, we're still pretty small.
Right.
Has been British Columbia, but we are looking to sell to premium, wine shops and restaurants.
And
across
maybe
Canada.
even consumers if they ever free our grapes.
Well, ultimately,
grapes.
the consumers ultimately who we're producing
Of
the wine
course.
for. And that's, that if we could just see everybody opening their border. It's interesting when I come to Ontario, people say, can you ship the wine here? And I said, well, your government won't allow me to. But ironically, while I'm here, I can arrange to have your wine shipped to my home without any hassle. And I just think that if we can't have free trade and reciprocity in Canada, how the hell are we going to be successful in trading with the rest of the world?
There are a few people who abuse the product, and as a result of it, we all suffer because they think it's a dangerous product, and it's just an ordinary food product.
I don't know very many people in my 48 years in the industry that have abused wine, that if people are going to abuse, premium wines like these are clearly not their beverage of choice.
No. I always say if you want to get drunk, there are more efficient ways.
There's no
Beer
que-
and spirits,
no question.
because the hangover after this is just horrid.
Well, I don't know, I've
when
never
we-
consumed
Well, it's like, I don't remember one. Anyway, thanks for coming in here. It's been so fantastic.
Konrad, it's so good to catch up with you again. It's been a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Harry McWatters. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.